Welcome. Today we're going to talk about removing guilt. Here we are in wonderful Alaska. I've got this one proven way that I like to use to remove my guilt. Because guilt's one thing that's going to hold us back. But first we got to do a little bit of an experiment, a thought experiment, to set some frame of reference for what we're about to do. So if you would, imagine a pizza. Imagine a pizza coming fresh out the oven. And I want you to smell the cheese and that fresh pizza smell out of the oven, and see the cheese and hear the sizzling of the pepperoni, and pick it up and feel the warmth in your hands. Take a bite and taste the pizza. Really taste it. So you saw something, you heard something, you tasted something, you felt something, you smelled it. You get a full five sensory experience in your mind. So that lets you know that a lot of what we've got going on is just going on up in here. And that's good. That makes things a lot easier. Now, a lot of times we'll hold on to guilt. And guilt is something that holds us back, especially when we're trying to change our lives. Sometimes we feel guilty about what may have been happened in the past, and we don't deserve to have a better life. And it says in the Bible, I came in this world, Jesus said, he came in this world not to condemn, but so that people can have life more abundantly. And that's the whole game, the whole thing about the Bible, pretty much all Jesus talks about. Well, yeah, he talks about a lot of things, but if you want to take a gist of it, a gist of a lot of what he's talking about is just having a good life. I feel like the whole reason Jesus came is that, like, while we're here, alive now, not some future other world that we're going to go to when this body quits working. But anywho, that's a whole nother story, another debate, and it kind of gets a little off topic. So after having this pizza experiment, and knowing that most things are happening just in the mind, we can begin to think about, how do we get rid of guilt? Well, most all of us have seen a courtroom drama or a movie, uh, television. If you haven't, if you need to, go online and go look up not guilty verdicts and just see an actual courtroom where someone gets a non-guilty verdict or not guilty verdict. What you want to do now, see yourself in the defendant's seat, and I want you to see the table right in front of you, see the judge right in front of you, see the jury over there, see the plaintiff, and you put in whoever it is over there that you feel guilty about, whether it's a person that you may have wronged or a thing that you may have done, whatever it is that you feel guilty about, you put that in that plaintiff seat, because that plaintiff seat is coming at you right now and holding guilt over for you. For me, what stopped me from going to church, and really what shook my faith in Christianity, was there was a moment when I was young, I had sinned. I told my mom, I said, Mom, I prayed to Jesus that I would be forgiven for these sins, and I still feel bad. And she said, well, you have to forgive yourself too. And I was like, well, if I need to forgive myself, what do I need Jesus for? And at that point, I started to walk away from Christianity, the religion, not necessarily the teachings. Well, I'm coming back to the teachings now in this part of my life. So anyhow, back to the courtroom. You're there. You got the table. You got the judge. You got the jury. You got the plaintiff over there. And what I want you to do now, I want you to imagine that the judge up there is not whoever you imagined it to be at first. I want that's you. You see yourself sitting in the judge's seat, wearing the robes. And then I want you to look over at the jury. And all 12 of them are you. They're all you. It's really, when it comes down to guilt, we are our own judge, and we're our own jury, and we're our own executioner when it comes to these things. And I want you to see whatever that guilt was sitting there, and the judge looking at you and saying, in the most vivid way possible, we find the defendant, your name here, not guilty, by being reason of by reason that you are the judge and the jury, and you have decided no longer. And I want you to feel that feeling of being found not guilty. stand up from the courtroom, turn around, cross the bar, don't even look at the plaintiff anymore, and go outside the courtroom. You feel that feeling of being free. And any time from here on out that you have this feeling of guilt about that particular subject, you go back to that courtroom scene. You go back to that courtroom and say, so no guilt. I received a not guilty verdict. I received a not guilty verdict, and I am not guilty. And every time that guilty verdict, every time that feeling of guilt comes up, not guilty. I've been acquitted by a judge and a jury in my mind. And the guilt is in my mind. So if the guilt is in my mind, and so is the judge and the jury, and so is the not guilty verdict, I'm not guilty. And you feel that go away. This is really powerful. This is really fun. If you feel guilty that you didn't do right by your family members, like let's say you got a sister or a brother or a mother or a father, anybody that you're sitting back there thinking of that, man, I feel guilty, or I should have done more. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. But if the guilt is not helping you, and guilt is not allowing you to figure out what you really want to do, it's just holding you back. So if it's your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousins, your aunties, your uncles, whoever it is that you feel like you should have done something, or they hold some sort of guilt over you, you put them in that plaintiff's seat. The judge, which you see from your seat, is you wearing those robes. Slam that gavel. Not guilty. Because the guilt's in your mind, so is the judge and the jury, so is the not guilty verdict. And I guarantee you, you don't have to put anything on this. It's not wrong for you to imagine this. It's not wrong to make up this jury in your mind. You're not going to get in trouble. It's your mind. No one's going to judge you for it. You don't tell anybody about it. You're not going to get embarrassed for it. Because every time those guilty feelings come up, you say, I have a not guilty verdict. You received it. The guilt's in my mind. The judge and jury's in my mind. And the not guilty verdict's in my mind. You will watch. You will watch. That guilt will go away. This worked for me. This will work for you. See you next video.